Well, here we are on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11th Circle. We're all looking forward to this game between Mumbai and Kolkata. No, I haven't lost the plot yet because I was reliably informed that everything we saw last night was a dream. That match is still in progress and there's going to be some sort of sensible result to it. If I'm wrong, then maybe we'll talk about something else and reflect on that dream that turned into a nightmare or a reality, depending on which way you look at it. In the studio, we were expecting to have Joy Bhattacharya once again with us, but we know his Kolkata connections and he has decided to continue to be in sort of black band type situation as far as yesterday's game was concerned. So he won't be on the show. Harsha Bhogle will be, as he always remains neutral. And our super sub today, for the first time this season, a warm welcome to Simon Doull.
Thank you very much, Gautam. Harsha, evening to you, evening to everyone in Cricbuzz land. Great to be back. Really enjoying, looking forward to tonight's contest. Been a good start to the tournament. We've had some cracking games and looking forward to getting into some nitty-gritty tonight and maybe dissecting a couple of things from last night as well.
I never thought I'd hear Super Sub Simon. It's got quite a ring to it, Super Sub Simon. The truth is, Gautam Bhimani, you're in Kolkata too, aren't you?
I am.
There you go. So you know the reality. You just get out and poke your head out of the window and you know the reality of what happened yesterday. The real reason Joy Bhattacharya is not on the program is because you've been intimidating him with all the prawns and whatever that you're eating, which he cannot get landlocked in Gurugram.
There are two ways to face life, Harsha. They used to say, drown your sorrows in drink. I drown my sorrows in food. And I'm sorry it didn't go down well with everyone else. Apologies, Joy. But
your food always goes down well. That's why you don't put on weight.
Right, there we go. On that culinary note, Simon, one very simple question to you. Actually, it's a tough question for you to initiate you for this season. What happened yesterday?
Really poor performance, I think, from experienced international players. Bad options after a terrific effort with the ball. I thought Russell, obviously at the back end, doing his job really well. Pat Cummins was good. Shakib, they did a great job with the ball, I thought, Kolkata, to restrict Mumbai to where they were, and they should have won that game comfortably. They should have absolutely cruised it. Morgan, Russell, Shakib, Nitish Rana set at the crease. International quality players failing to do the job. Yes, Mumbai bowled nicely, but there were some really poor options, some really poor cricket. And I know that Owen Morgan and Brendan McCullum are not the type to go over the top with their celebrations or with their commiserations, but those guys needed a rocket last night, and I hope they got one. If they didn't, then he's not doing his job.
Yeah, the Rockets would have come in that camp, but we briefly mentioned it, Harsha, about today's game. Same venue for these two teams who would have been glued to yesterday's game. What do you think their mindset would have changed based on what happened last night for today?
Look, I'm imagining that there's a game last night, they would have changed, it'd be on the same surface, wouldn't it, Dooley? If they played last night, you'd imagine it would be on the same surface again today. If it is, look, there was a fair bit of turn yesterday towards the end, so maybe someone like a Rashid will get turned. And the other news I just read on the app, it's cloudy, there was a drizzle in the morning, and as Simon Doull, who's the resident in-house dew expert, will tell you, that if it's cloudy, it tends not to be dewy. So in which case, bat first, as the pitch report suggests, may not be a bad idea. But your set batsmen play all the way through to the end. If you lose a wicket around 14th, 15th over, it's very difficult for the other players to come in, especially if your asking rate is 8-9 and over by then.
Yeah, Simon, at least you would have got used to our new format here on Cricbuzz Live, where we come in 10 minutes earlier. So we can actually have a bit of speculation and thoughts on the toss. In your opinion, win toss, bat first, certainly for Hyderabad?
Yeah, I think for both sides. And from now on, I think we'll see a lot more of that, particularly in Chennai. I think, other venues around the country, you want to chase. The ball slides on a little bit better. But it just seems to me that batting first and batting well, you can really put some pressure on in Chennai with the ball turning. And even if you have to bowl your spinners perhaps a little bit earlier than required, and just remember too, just half an hour. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but half an hour earlier so that therefore you've still got to dry a ball up to probably around about 9:15, 9:30. So that makes quite a big difference leading into that second innings as well. You can use those spinners up front. And to me, I just think that that's got to be the way to go. The other thing is maybe load load up front. I think you've got to make the most of that new ball. Maybe we might see some teams going a little bit harder, a little bit more aggressive in the first 6, 7, 8 overs with a newish ball while it's sliding on.
Yeah, certainly that would be the case. But in terms of personnel, I think this would be the stage, Harsha, when they'd be starting to look at what are the possible combinations. The only one we fairly certainly know is about PADIKKAL coming in.
Yes, it is. And don't be surprised if PADIKKAL is given the license to go. Look what happened yesterday. Which were the two defining innings of the game? Surya Kumar Yadav batting up front in the early overs and Nitish Rana batting up front in the early overs. So Dooley's point is valid. Whoever comes in, and PADIKKAL has to come in. I mean, he made 750 runs in the Vijay Hazare. Pretty decent Mushtaq Ali as well. So he's going to come in straight away, maybe in place of Patidar. And I don't see too many other changes. It's not always that the Bangalore fans turn around and say, you know what, we got one in first up.
Yeah, it's one of those, having a look at the numbers Harsha just mentioned. Again, consistency, but partly these tournaments. But I think the one that will really resonate with the team will be what he did in last year's tournament, which in a sense was not that far along down the line.
Yeah, look, he's a fine player. They just needed to bat around him. He was the leading run scorer last year. When you're outscoring, Virat Kohli, and when you're outscoring AB de Villiers as a young player, making your way into a new side, I think he'll come into this year with so much more confidence. He didn't actually join the team at all. I got a little bit of info early on in the piece. He hadn't actually joined the team at all, so there was no issues around the COVID protocols and the COVID situations with PADIKKAL. He came into the team late. He'd already been diagnosed, so he did his isolation at home, and he's joined the team. He's a young, fit man. So let's hope he's fully over any little issues that he did have. He comes straight back into that lineup, and and hopefully, I just look forward to these young guys that we saw a glimpse of last year. He's one. Ruturaj Gaikwad is another that I'm sort of looking forward to watching progress a little bit this year. And that's what we've seen from the likes of the Nitish Ranas and even Rishabh Pant way back in the early days and coming through. These young guys that sort of progress through year upon year and just get better. They're the ones you look forward to.
Quick one before we head try and keep 1 year on the toss, Harsha. I know we sometimes try and ignore a head-to-head like we did with Mumbai and Kolkata, but Virat Kohli...
That's the only head-to-head you want to look at.
Who tried to ignore that? Who was ignoring it?
Trust me, we all tried to yesterday, but Virat Kohli against Hyderabad is a number he can't, and certainly a neutral can't.
I mean, Virat Kohli is a great player. He's playing all around. I wonder if Virat Kohli is aware of these numbers as well, because, I mean, you're looking 2018 to 2020 is just one team. Or I wonder whether he's got it back of his head. I've not scored enough against Hyderabad. But I wouldn't be too worried. Is there a pattern to those dismissals? Look, there's one Rashid Khan, there's one Jason Holder, there's one Sandeep Sharma. He got out all those times to Sandeep Sharma. That was earlier. So I don't think there's a pattern to those dismissals that he's worried about. What I'm more concerned about when he opens with PADIKKAL is DEVDUTT PADIKKAL last year 124. Virat Kohli in his first few was about 115, 118, around there as well. Are they going to get the start they need? Or are they going to say in Chepak, look, it doesn't matter. We'll just bat all the way through and we'll accelerate at the end. So I'm waiting to see how they start.
Well, I'm going to get your thought on that, Simon, but quickly let me butt in with the result of the toss. Since we speculated on the possibility of batting first, gentlemen, it hasn't happened. David Warner has won the toss and he's gone with the, what's seeming to be the accepted norm to chase. So come back to Virat Kohli and then we'll get your thoughts on the toss, Simon.
Yeah, look, he'll know. Virat Kohli knows he knows who he does well against. He knows where he scores his runs. He knows what grounds he's had success at. He is that sort of cricketer. He's that sort of guy. And it won't be playing on his mind, but he'll know the numbers. And he'll know that he needs a performance against the Sunrisers, against Hyderabad. So, to me, I'm a little bit with Harsha here. I don't know how they're going to start because somebody needs to take the initiative inside that first 4, 5, 6 overs. You need someone to be scoring at 140, 150, I think, in these types of conditions because it gets so hard on. Now, AB de Villiers is quality, but he's not always going to be able to do what he did in the first encounter. You just have to make sure that you've got that platform set. You can't afford to be 45, 50 after 7 overs, 6, 7 overs. You've got to be, I think you've got to push the button a little bit earlier. They have to decide who does that, whether it's PADIKKAL, whether it's Kohli, but someone has to score at 150, 160, I think, in the power play.
Here's a thought as well, Gautam. Since you said we'll come back to the toss, Sunrisers won the toss, Hyderabad won the toss, opting to field. Dooley, can you sometimes say, this is what I want to do, but this is what I don't want the opposition to do? I don't want Virat Kohli, the chaser, chasing. I don't want AB, the chaser, chasing. So let's put them in first and let us chase. So most times you'd imagine a team would say, this is what I want to do, having won the toss. Or can you sometimes say, this is what I don't want them to do?
Yeah, there could be a little bit of both. And it also might play, okay, who's our trump card? What is our greatest weapon here? We know that David Warner's probably good enough to bat in any conditions, and he's proven that time and time again. We know Johnny Bairstow plays spin quite well. So maybe we're okay with that. But our trump card is Rashid Khan. Okay, we want a dry ball and we want dry conditions for him to exploit his wares and to be at his best. So maybe that's the other thing around it too. Maybe we bowl first because we want Rashid to really try and get into these guys and bowl with a nice dry ball in nice dry conditions and make the best of our greatest weapon as well with the ball. So there's a couple of things that come into it. It may prove right for Hyderabad. They may go on to win the game tonight, but I'm really in favour now in Chennai of batting first.
We're going to talk about the players who are included in the 11, and the one that interests me most is the possibility of Jason Holder coming in, but we'll come to that in a moment. Dooley, can I get your thoughts on someone who's definitely not in the 11, not because of merit, just because of he needs a few more days to recuperate? Kane Williamson. I mean, what an impact player he is. At a time, there was when we said, is he really a T20 player?
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, Kane Williamson he is a T20 player, and I've always preferred Kane Williamson at the top of the order in T20 cricket at the international level. Now, that's just a personal opinion from a New Zealand point of view. I think he's at his best at 1 or 2. His numbers are very good, though, in the IPL, and that's, when he's been asked to do a job, and he's only really been asked to do it on a regular basis for one season because David Warner, remember, wasn't here. But other than that, he's kind of been in and out. He's been that, okay, do we go with Johnny Bairstow? Do we go with Kane Williamson? I'd like to see them, if they had the confidence, to play both in that middle order, particularly Chennai on these turning surfaces. He's a brilliant player of spin, Kane Williamson, and that's something that could really prove in Hyderabad's favour in those games in Chennai. But they haven't done it. I can tell you that Holder is in, and I can tell you that Nadeem is in. So Shabazz and Holder are in for Hyderabad. So, yeah, a couple of the changes that we probably, I think some of us probably expected.
Yeah, but to me, again, we were going to continue the discussion on Williamson, but I think it's worth, since Simon has mentioned that, to get early thoughts on a Holder coming in, and also the absence of Sandeep Sharma. Just as we were building up that battle with Kohli's nemesis being Sandeep Sharma, he's not in the opposition.
Yeah, I think they had to go with the 2 Indian pacers, and they looked at the pecking order and they said, okay, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Or Bhuvneshwar, Natarajan, Sandeep, Khalil, Basil Thampi, something like that. So who are our top 2? Bhuvneshwar and Natarajan are our top 2, because the moment Holder comes in, we're fine. We need to play an extra spinner. None of our top order batsmen spin the ball, so they had no choice. Literally, the moment they said we need Jason Holder's calm head in the middle order, it was obvious this was going to be the change. You look at someone like Williamson. I was amazed last year watching Williamson bat. He just knew when to hit the boundary. He'd block 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. It was almost like he was calculating. Now they want Jason Holder to do that because Williamson's not available. But here's something with Bangalore batting first. Once again, they've changed 2 of the top 3. Right, so Shahbaz is going to bat 3. Washington goes down again. PADIKKAL is coming up. No Patidar again. So their issue, and this is an issue with a lot of teams. I'm glad Simon talked about top loading versus bottom loading. So many teams are bottom loading. So I want AB in one place. I want Maxwell in one place. I want Christian in one place. Now who do I find in the top 3? And so they're saying, okay, we'll try Shahbaz at number 3. It's almost as if I cannot bat 4, 5, 6. And same thing with Kolkata as well. I cannot bat 4, 5, 6 till a certain point, and I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, how does it? I mean, how do you get it wrong in the first game and then change it? You've got to give. This has been Bangalore's issue. The whole issue has been around inconsistency of selection throughout the history of this tournament, and you can't get it right or think you've got it right in game 1 and then completely change it because you've got it wrong after only one game. It doesn't make any sense at all. So they have to find those spots, the right spots for the right people, and just give them some time. If it's your best team in game 1, outside of DEVDUTT PADIKKAL, yes, I think he had to come back in, then it's your best team in game 2 or your best players in game 2. You can't be making wholesale changes or too many changes just for the sake of it after one game.
Yeah, it will be interesting to keep an eye on that batting order because once again, a reminder that they are in fact batting first. They will be setting a score for the Sunrisers, who of course won the toss. Virat Kohli's approach before the toss, we briefly mentioned his numbers against his opposition. The one thing that he'll maybe be relieved about if he thinks about such things, no Sandeep Sharma in the opposition, but certainly in terms of his own personal form, he'll just want to put everything else behind him and say, look, there's just one way I bat. I should bat that way, Harsha.
Of course, I mean, he's Virat Kohli, right? When Virat Kohli has a bad day, it's like a lot of people having a good day. So he's got to continue like that. I mean, this is Virat Kohli playing T20 cricket. I mean, he's batting at the number that we all think he should bat at. I don't think he should worry about numbers. Just say, Virat Kohli, you're batting till the 15th over. There's 90 balls, assuming you get 45 of those. 45 balls, you're 65 not out. At that point, you're finishing with 88, 85. So he's got to tell himself, I'm batting till the 15th. I only hope we don't get a skewed strike situation like we had last time, where Rohit Sharma didn't get enough batting. So Virat Kohli just bats all the way through. My question is, I'm not sure they think Padikkal is going to be striking cleanly. I'm not sure they think AB and Maxwell can come in early. So what do we do? Send Shahbaz up. So poor Washington Sundar is saying, yesterday they thought I'm good enough to open. Now suddenly I'm not good enough at 3. I'm back down. So who am I? And I think who am I is a question Washington's been asking himself for a while in that side. So let's see. Maybe they'll tell Shahbaz, look, no price on your wicket. Just go hit a bit like Rahul Tripathi for Kolkata and see how that turns out. But I mean, I'll be surprised if Virat doesn't have a big IPL this year.
Yeah, there's one more look at what we're talking about, why we were mentioning Shahbaz Ahmed. Washington Sundar, remember, opened the previous game. That was a bit of a surprise for everyone. Now he finds himself back in that middle order. So if Washington Sundar sitting there, as Harsha said, and asking, who am I? There's lots of you sitting out there going, who do we put in, i.e. into our My 11 Circle teams? It's a very good question, and this is a very good time to answer that because we've told you the teams. There are a couple of changes. Of course, if you don't have the app, make sure you go to the app My 11 Circle, download it, get in your 11s, make your captain and vice captain, and of course, listen out to some of our little expert picks, which we give you, which this year we are referring to as our smart picks. Not just one, but there are 3 smart picks which we'll tell you. And if you do succeed, 1 for 1 could be your route to success. 1 rupee for 1 crore. Very simple mathematics, talking about exponential raises. Smart picks for today. It's Hyderabad against Bangalore. And the 3 players we've picked on are Johnny Bairstow, Jason Holder. I think he's just made his way into the team, and we remember what he did last year when he did that, and Mohammad Siraj. So let's pick one at a time. We'll start, Harsha, with Johnny Bairstow, because even if he's not opening the batting, we know the kind of form he's coming in with is what they'd be really relieved at.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the opposition, you're thinking, oops, Warner, Bairstow opening the batting. Now you're saying, okay, Bairstow's only coming in at 4. As I said last time, my gut feel is that because that's his number in England, he's saying, I want to bat number 4 here. But he had a good innings. It was the turning point of the game was when Bairstow got out to Cummins. So Bairstow's this big player in the middle order. I know now Holders come in, but Bairstow's the big player in the middle order. Bairstow gets enough batting time, he'll give you a big score. I still think Bairstow takes on the new ball and hammers all the way through. You're probably going to get a really big score, but they've decided on Bairstow at 4, but he walks into that side. I mean, if Williamson's not fit, Bairstow just walks into that side.
Well, there you go. Bairstow does walk into that side, and that was the big dilemma that they had last season. But for Jason Holder, It was one of those questions we were really wondering, would Nabi make way for him? Well, the answer is yes. They're obviously looking for that extra stability with bat in hand. Not that Nabi can't bat, Simon, but it's just something that Jason Holder brings, the leadership quality he brings in.
Well, it's new ball bowling, if they choose to use them with the new ball, a little bit of swing, a little bit of bounce. And when you're that height, sometimes the inconsistent bounce can be a really big factor as well. Leadership, calmness in the field. So those are a couple of really key factors, and power at the back end of the innings. I mean, he can hit the long ball, Jason Holder. He's more than just a bowler who bats. He is a genuine all-rounder, I think, in this sort of game. Now, his strike rate will be high. He won't have to average, he won't average 30, but he doesn't need to batting at 6 or 7. He's just there to find the boundary, and that's his job. He's calm. He's got great hands in the field. I think he does a good job. So to me, yeah, I can understand completely why they've got him into that side.
Were you a bit surprised, Harsha? Holder for Nabi?
Not really, because I thought they wanted that extra calming influence there. I like the fact that it was Nabi. I think they've been very tempted to play Nabi's off spin on this kind of surface, but I think they took the extra benefit of Jason Holder's batting down there. I think they wanted more batting from Nabi. He's never really been the destroyer in this tournament like he's been in a lot of leagues around the world. But I think they just like the balance that Jason Holder brings. I think Holder's in this side also because they're not certain about the two key Indian batsmen in that order, which is Manish Pandey and Vijay Shankar. If you have Manish Pandey, Vijay Shankar, Manish Pandey till recently India player, Vijay Shankar till recently in the 2019 in the India World Cup as a top order batsman. When you have those two, you shouldn't need another overseas batsman. But I think they're not sure. And I think they have a right to expect much more from Manish Pandey, who I thought was the non-striker the other day. He just continued being the non-striker right through the innings. I think they want a lot more. If they get a lot more from Manish Pandey, everything else falls into place for them.
Yeah. What about our third smart pick? Because this is the time you don't want to waste any more time in your My 11 Circle teams. And this is the third of our My 11 Circle smart picks. And this 11 wickets in 10 matches since 2020 in that tournament. Mohammad Siraj again plays a key role. And we've seen, Dooley, how he's made the transition into India colours.
Yeah, look, I really like Mohammad Siraj. I think he's got a lot about him to like. He's had his struggles at the death, I think, at times with the ball, but he's learning. He's getting better and better. And I think the international summer, winter, off-season, on-season, whatever you like to call it, that he's had in the last 8-12 months has been really good for him. I expect him to play a huge role for Bangalore throughout this tournament. He's got to lead this bowling attack. And to me, he's becoming more of a senior player, even though, you look at others in that side and say they're far more senior. I think he's got to lead this bowling attack and lead it well.
The other thing he can do, Gautam, is his problem was he always bowled well at the top and conceded a lot of runs at the back end. Now, apparently, Harshal Patel has been told, you are bowling at the back end for us. And they've got Kyle Jamieson, who I thought was very, very impressive the other day. He made a really good debut. A lot of young players who get that kind of money, they have the dollars in their eyes, or maybe the pressure that the dollars in the eyes produce, to be fair, not the dollars, but the pressure that produces, and they're a bit lost in their first couple of games. I thought Jamieson did very well. So if Jamieson can give you an over or two at the end, if Harshal Patel is giving you a couple of overs at the end, it takes a bit of pressure off Siraj, and he can be the strike bowler. He can maybe bowl 2, maybe even 3 up front, 1 in the middle, or 2, and 1 in the middle, 1 back at 16. So they can now use him differently, without having to worry about, oh my God, how many is going to go for at the death.
Yeah, get Siraj in your team. And a great point about Jamieson, Harsha. And I will tell you, straight after the auction, New Zealand played games. And he was a deer in headlights. He'd forgotten how to bowl. For the next 2 to 3 games in New Zealand colours, he just completely forgot how to bowl. And he was taken apart. He couldn't land it properly. And he was... I think probably from a Bangalore point of view, it was quite lucky that after the auction, New Zealand had games. So he was able to get that sort of out of his system and then able to arrive in India, and it had all calmed down. Sometimes players sort of arrive straight from the auction, the numbers, and then straight to the IPL, and then they really don't know what's going on and can't perform. But Kyle Jamieson was able to bowl through 2 or 3 games where it almost looked like he was a completely different bowler from what he was 4 weeks before the auction. So that's gone, I think, out of his system, and he'll feel so good about what happened in that first game with his performance with the ball.
Yeah, 56, 38 and 49 is what Kyle Jamieson went for. I remember Dooley talking about it on commentary, and certainly it was a relief that he's settled in well into this particular tournament. But one person who hasn't had any such problem with that, for whatever reason, Rashid Khan, no matter what his paycheck, plays in leagues around the world. Lovely story coming out of Afghanistan. But now you tend to forget that he's yet another player coming out of a developing nation, Harsha. You just look at him as a world beater. There's something about him.
No, he's a champion. It doesn't matter where he comes from now. Rashid Khan, I mean, so many people have tried to figure out Rashid Khan. They've tried to see which is the wrong arm, which is the leg break, which is going straight through, what the arm speed is there a gap between the fingers, does a little finger go up? And, the thing is, if you look at, say, someone like a Shane Warne in his career, I've always felt Shane Warne was the most studied bowler of his generation and still took wickets. Rashid Khan is one of the most studied bowlers in the T20 game. Everybody's got a microscope on Rashid Khan. In spite of that, Rashid Khan is doing what Sunil Narine, as I said last time, what Sunil Narine did at his peak for Kolkata. Rashid Khan is just becoming those 4 overs. And now I'm thinking on a track like this, will people say, let's give Rashid Khan 4-0, 22-0 if we can have a 0 at the end? Or are they saying, no, let's take him on and let's see if we can make it 4 overs, 32-33. So whatever happens, Rashid Khan is already in the minds of the batsmen. And he's been fantastic. I mean, I to be honest, I was wondering how he would progress, because the champions are those who make an impact, who are studied, don't go through that dip. A lot of people's careers go like that. His career hasn't, and he's continued. He's taking wickets in the UAE, he's taking wickets in Australia, he's taking wickets in England, except in Test match cricket where he bowls 90 overs sometimes. But in T20, he's taking wickets everywhere.
Yeah, I haven't got the numbers from last season, and someone will throw them at me. But there was, I think, at least 8 or 9 of the 14 games last year in the round robin, he went for 23 or less. It was quite incredible. So that's a banker. That is just an absolute banker, Rashid Khan. So in 3 or 4 games in a season, he's going to go for more than 23, 24 runs, which is just phenomenal when you look at a guy like that. So he is so vital to this Hyderabad outfit. And, I mean, them having, is it 4 or 5 games they play in Chennai?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to be crucial. He's going to be crucial to getting them off to a start tonight.
I think they play in Delhi as well, don't they? Don't Hyderabad play in Delhi as well? So they've got those 8 or 9 games there. I think Rashid last year, at one point, Dooley, we had those numbers up. I think his economy rate was under 6, well into the tournament. Yeah. Well into the tournament, his economy rate was under 6. And if you look at what they're doing, look at that graphic up there. This was the last 8 matches. 5, 3.5, 1.75, 6, 5.5, 6.56. That's the point Dooley's making. In 8 matches, he's gone better than run a ball only once. I mean, 6.5 is nitpicking. He's gone better than run a ball only once at 8 and over. And that was when maybe someone went after him 1 over. But then look at the difference. Dooley, does that suggest to you they're saying we'll play out Rashid Khan, go after the others?
And I don't mind that. If I'm in that Bangalore camp, I'm looking at that going, okay, look, on average, this guy's going for 22, 23, 24. If we take him for his average, but he doesn't get a wicket, we win. That's a win for us. Yes, he might bowl 1 or 2 bad deliveries in that spell. If we put them away, that's okay. Other than that, let's try and make sure that we're taking him for 1s, sometimes for 2s, and we put the 1 or 2 bad balls in that 4-over spell away. The key number for Rashid Khan is the wickets column. Keep it to 0. If we keep it to 0, we will be better off than most teams in this competition.
I think that's an interesting point, Harsha. Very often when we talk about our My 11 Circle teams, and sometimes if there's one reason not to rush it into your team, it's because he might bowl beautifully, but 4-0, 22-0 doesn't get you too much in the points. And that's pretty much because of what Simon said. Teams are not willing to give their wickets away.
Also, I'm curious to see how they handle him. They kept an over back last time for Russell, did they? They held him back I wonder if they'll hold him back for a Maxwell or an AB at the end, just so that they've got someone to go at him. So I'll be interested in seeing how they manage his 4 overs today. So because now Rashid Khan has to keep the scoring down, he's got to take wickets, he's got to bowl at the big players in the opposition.
And so often, guys, if you're looking at your My 11 Circle team, pick the spinner at the other end from the world-class spinner. Just go with perhaps the slightly lesser spinner in your team, because you'll find that the opposition will always go harder at that guy than they will the world-class one. So maybe that's just a little inkling for your team. Gautam, who'd you pick?
I hope all of you are listening. I don't have...
No, sorry to interrupt, Gautam. Sorry to interrupt, but I was hoping Dooley would not say that, because the story on Cricbuzz is when Gautam picks his team, he's like this.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's one of those things. I'm putting it in right now. I don't have Rashid in my team, just in case you were wondering, and I hope I don't live to regret that. But that's an extra tip.
4 overs, 3 for 14. 4 overs, 3 for 14.
Stop it, Harsha. Wait, hang on. Let me quickly. No, but all of you out there listening, that's gold dust from Simon Doull that you've just heard. We'd given you 3 smart picks. You've actually got 4 now, so that's a bit of a bonus. But let's come to another player. Let's get to big DC. No, I'm not talking about the Delhi Capitals. The DC who is going to be taking part in Chennai today. Dan Christian, again, someone who's been part of so many different leagues, probably even more than he has been in the national setup, even been part of winning sides. How do you view someone like Dan Christian, Harsha? Because coming back after a while, he's a veteran, if you have to describe him that way.
Yeah, it's amazing how every time Dan Christian is playing, whichever franchise, he's had a very successful season in England. You look at the Big Bash scores, and inevitably you see Dan Christian's come in. He is 30 of 17 balls, or he's 40 of 23 balls. It's amazing how often he comes in at the end and plays that role. And I wonder, they've got AB, they've got Maxwell, and I wonder if they're saying, look, teams have players like Hardik, Kyron Pollard, Andre Russell. We just play him in that role. If he gives you an over or 2 overs here and there, because he goes for runs, and he's not the youngest. But can they stay with him? Suppose he doesn't get runs for 2 or 3 overs or 2 or 3 games. Will they stay with Christian and say, you are there for the next 7-8 games. You finished 3 for us. That's good enough for us. So I think that's his role, clearly, to form this juggernaut with AB, Maxwell, and Christian at the end.
Probably what they thought of when they picked him in the first place, Simon.
Yeah, I think so. And look, I didn't know Dan Christian all that well leading into this tournament, but when the league in Pakistan finished and we had to leave early, I ended up in the UAE, and Dan Christian was there along with Ben Cutting and Chris Lynn, and we ended up playing a bit of golf together. And I kind of got to know a little bit about Dan Christian and chatted about his career, and he was very open about the fact that he's blown away by his success and now what he knows and what he understands about his game, what he understands about what it takes to be a part of a winning franchise and a winning team, and what he can bring to a team. And he knows his limitations, but he also knows how to win. And he's such a great team man. I just got a really good feeling being around Dan Christian. He's just he's a champion bloke. I've become a fan of his, not only for his cricketing ability, but just as a good human being. So to me, what he brings to a franchise is on and off the field. For a start, he's a winner. He knows exactly how to win games. He's got power with the bat. He knows where to score, and he knows his scoring areas, and he'll offer you things with the ball that sometimes others can't. This pitch in Chennai, I think, suits him down to the ground. Bowls great cutters. He's got good change of pace if he needs to. He can ramp it up to that mid-130s if he has to as well. I think he's a really nice part of the puzzle for Bangalore. And when you look through that middle order of AB, Maxwell, him, whether it be Washington Sundar at 7 or 8, it's got a nice look to it. It's got some power about it. And I think that's one of the things that they have been missing.
To some extent, I think his place will depend, and it's a peculiar dynamic in this tournament, on how Harshal Patel goes. Remember, Harshal Patel can hit at the end too. If Harshal Patel is delivering the overs, then they don't need to bring Kane Richardson in, or maybe not even Adam Zampa in. Because the moment Richardson or Zampa come in, who goes out? It has to be Dan Christian going out. So it's peculiar that he's actually looking at Harshal Patel and say, you do well, I've got a little more time in this side. if Harsha Patel does well today, I mean, he's been a journeyman, but if you want someone to give you, if there's 12 of 8 balls, 7 balls, he'll still give you those runs. So it's a peculiar dynamic but what RCB have done this time is they're batting very deep, and I hope that allows the top order to bat more freely.
Yeah, I'll also hope that people who might have thought that 5-4 was just a one-off, he'll want to prove to them otherwise. But a quick one before I recap the teams, Dooley. The main question that really we had snuck in there: how did the golf go with DC?
He's very good. He's a very good golfer, actually. He plays off a 2 handicap, so we had some very good games. He got the better of me, though. I better be honest.
I was about to say that. Since you didn't talk too much about the golf, I would imagine that's how the result went.
I need to be honest. It was an Australian victory.
We leave it at that. It takes a brave man, takes a big man to actually admit Australia beat New Zealand, no matter where it was. Let's change the topic and get you back to a quick recap of the teams before our Joy Factor question for today. We have the one change for Bangalore. That is, of course, DEVDUTT PADIKKAL coming in for Rajat Patidar. And for the other side, for the Sunrisers Hyderabad, the men in orange have made 2 changes. Shahbaz Nadeem is in and Jason Holder is in as well. No place for Sandeep Sharma, no place for Mohammad Nabi.
They made one change. If you make one change, you have to make the other, given that you're 4 overseas players. So Hyderabad have really made one change. But put up that Bangalore side again, and it's not something you see very often. They've got 8 bowling options there with the Bangalore side, and they're back to 9. It's not every year that you can say that about Bangalore. Take out Siraj, take out Chahal. You've got Harshal Patel, Kyle Jamieson, Washington Sundar, Dan Christian. That's your 6, 7, 8, 9. All of them can bat. Now look at bowling. Why have they played Shahbaz Ahmed over Rajat Patidar? Because he can give you a couple of overs of spin if it really starts to play like that. Glenn Maxwell can give you some overs of spin. So they've got a lot of options. Now the question is, how does Kohli play with these options? That's going to be interesting. But at least he's carrying options onto the ground.
All right, gentlemen, Joy Factor question coming up. I'm going to give you a few seconds while I ask the question to think about your possible predicted scores for the 20-over mark. Meanwhile, here we go. This is what Joy has for us. Sorry you're not on the show today, Joy, but you did manage to send us the question. Which cricketer playing in the Indian T20 League plays with a jersey commemorating the year of birth of a Test cricketer? Commemorating the year of birth of a Test cricketer. We had a fascinating question yesterday, and this one seems equally interesting. Commemorating the year of birth of a Test cricketer.
Is that just happen, or that he picked a number and there was someone there, or did he particularly pick that number? I wonder, because it was the year of birth of her.
My first guess, I don't know the answer, would be probably the latter, that it was deliberate. It wouldn't just have happened. So, but let's see. I'm not giving anything away because I don't know the answer. Simple as that. Joy is the boss on this count. Gentlemen, Simon Doull, since it's a Super Sub day for you, first show for you, you get to pick first.
Excellent.
Wow. Are we looking at a power play score or a total?
No, we're looking at 20 over score for Bangalore. Batting first up, losing the toss.
20 overs, Bangalore 163.
20 overs, 163. A nice middling total. That's probably Bangalore won more than that, Harsha.
Look, I'm not 100% sure it's the same surface. If it was a different surface, I might have gone high. I'll still go a little higher because of the power that they bring to the table. I'll go about 168, 169, chalo.
169. I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling that they're going to explode. I'm going high. I'm going to go way higher. 185. 185. May even go higher than that. Just seems to be Bangalore's day. I've lost a few friends in the past, and I'm trying to make up all that for all my mates in Bangalore. All right, Cricbuzz Plus. Remember, that's another offering. If you're fans of the game, whether or not you answer Joy's questions, you throw us so much questions on so many questions on hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. If you're one of them, you love the game, come and subscribe to Cricbuzz Plus. We will, of course, be on Cricbuzz Combox in the 10th over to see if they're at least halfway to the 180 plus mark. Where will they go? They need to get a winning total. They've lost the toss. They're batting first. And that's all we have on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle.